For the past 12 years, I've helped hundreds of professionals and executives integrate charisma into their public speaking, presentations, and even TED Talks. Charisma is the most powerful way to signal your communication. It can be learnt, and if used well, will always add value to your paycheck, industry leadership, sales ventures, and even public reputation faster than you can imagine. Welcome to the Cadenza channel. I'm Dr. Sarah Lobigaiga de Rodriguez. I train executives, experts, and industry leaders to speak with clarity, confidence, and charisma to achieve their career, brand, or business goals faster, using science-backed personalized communication and executive voice coaching. So if that sounds like something you're looking for, be sure to subscribe. I work worldwide, so I've dropped a link for how you can work with me in the comments below. Now, let's get into it. Charisma is the tool that will reduce your public speaking anxiety as an executive, enabling you to execute precise interactions, human connections, and memorability. I know this because I'm constantly getting messages from my clients, such as this one from a CEO who I worked with last month, who had anxious stage fright about a national level presentation to a large audience of stakeholders. Here's what he had to say once the presentation was done when I asked him how did it go the next day. "Hey Sarah, fantastic," I replied, "I'm so delighted." To which he told me, "It could not have gone better. I'm shocked at how well it went." Kudos to my client for the dedication, hard work, and positive energy. He also added, "The audience was so into the story, it was beautiful." Or, like another international expert I trained for their first TED Talk, we used the exact system I'm going to outline for you today that took care of their stage presence, voice tone, storytelling, telling captivating stories on stage, authoritative industry leadership, even though they never went to theatre school. And in the lead up to their now viral TED Talk, which has, as of today, over 1.9 million views on TED.com alone, and which flung open the door for their large-scale global industry leadership, getting them into the Time 100 Next list. Cadenza services are discreet and confidential because we work with household names. So I'm going to not reveal my client's name, but I will tell you what it means to be on the Time 100 Next list. So the Time 100 Next is an annual list published by Time magazine that highlights 100 emerging leaders, rising stars, and influential individuals who are shaping the future in various fields. It's a companion to the iconic Time 100 list, focusing on up-and-coming talent globally. And not only that, this client, through their charisma in their TED Talk, then achieved expert engagements with the United Nations and even received influencer deals with luxury brands. I talk about this and more as a communication scientist who also sings opera, so now's a great time to let you know you should follow me over on Instagram. I can vouch that this public speaker who I trained for their TED Talk, who blew up globally, even in Time magazine, is no different from you. Because at Cadenza, we work with conscientious and competent professionals, and we apply concrete strategies so that they can increase their public visibility. Mission was accomplished, so maybe you're wondering, can charisma be taught? Well, charisma can be learnt, and you don't need to be born with it or go to theatre school to use it well when presenting. All executives, no matter how technical their day-to-day work is, can use charisma. In fact, anyone who's a leader in their industry can apply charisma when public speaking, provided they implement proven, research-verified frameworks. Last week, I got an email from a client. I am going to keep their details confidential because we are a discreet service and I'm pretty sure they too will become a household name very soon. My new client said, "Hi, Sarah. I'm keen to increase my charisma and presence in public, before the media, and even in the boardroom speaking. I'm a confident expert in my field, but I find myself locking up under pressure, avoiding eye contact, and even struggling to look confident while presenting, even though I'm top of my field in my state. What can I do to look more charismatic on stage and when interviewed by the media? Can you help me?" My instant thought-based reaction was, "Welcome! You found the right place, and I cannot wait to meet you and get you visible and powerful on stage." But obviously my new client, who's starting their training soon, needed a clear overview about how we can together build an unshakable charismatic presentation style using the Cadenza protocol. I then figured I'd get asked this question constantly in my Instagram DMs, over on LinkedIn and via email, even in a phone call. So why not make a video for everyone? So if you're up late on YouTube tonight trying to work out how to become a charismatic presenter for your executive presentations, boardroom meetings, media appearances, and more, get comfortable. You found the right video, because today I'm going to share the most effective way to amplify your speaking aggregate so that you deliver memorable and influential presentations wherever you need to showcase your unquestionable leadership in your unique industry. And the protocol I'm going to cover today will enable you to do this all without taking beta blockers to stop nerves, which can really disrupt your system and which may not even work as effectively as you hope. You'll also learn how to do it without having to enroll in an online do-it-yourself public speaking course that is long-winded, painful, and certainly not personalized. I will also show you how to gain commanding stage presence so that you don't need to be confused about how to use charisma as an executive or leader. Given how important your authority and reputation are, you should be using charisma. So let's go. Now, we have a blog with more details on this, but let's cover the key elements you need for each of these pillars to achieve impeccable charisma when speaking. You might also like to check the blog at the end of this episode. So the achievements of my clients are testament to what is possible for you as a conscientious communicator and expert. You too can learn to get on stage and deliver with noteworthy sparkle and magnetism that makes you memorable and flings open doors. That's right, this is absolutely practical for you if you use a systematic approach to signal charisma through concrete communication behaviors. This will enable your presentations to go from analytical and dry to expressive and memorable. Indeed, you can go from anxious, racing thoughts in the lead up to your presentation to having a confident, fun, amazing, and passion-filled time presenting on stage or on camera. And all it takes is an integrated framework personalized to your communication style, public reputation objectives, and unique performance anxiety pressure management. So today I am going to show you that system. We will refer to the public speaking odyssey map. We're not going to discuss theory because, after all, you're an executive. Your skills at a high level are designed to execute. So this makes you a perfect candidate to follow a systematic framework to add charisma to your delivery, all using the public speaking odyssey map alongside the Cadenza protocol that I'm going to show you right now. So for this, I use the public speaking odyssey map. This is an effective way to consider that performing skills are based on hard work, but just as a solid boat will take you over rough seas to your destination, solid speaking systems will row you to shore and make you the hero. Speaking on stage is like sailing a boat on rough seas. In fact, singing on stage is the same, but with impeccable training in concrete stage skills, you can learn to set your masthead accurately while speaking and catch the right winds, coast across the water, survive and be celebrated as the mighty hero, and maybe even get into Time magazine as you've seen today. So take a look at this. Up to 77% of people identify public speaking as their single greatest fear. If you're new to it, the stats mean you'll likely have performing anxiety. But if you're a professional presenter, even if nervous, your approach, your delivery and presence will be charismatic because you will have the tools to serve your audience with validated tactics that the crowd loves. You'll learn charisma or else you won't be invited back to speak. So professionals really pick it up over time. So the professional presenter serves the audience using validated tactics through two processes. One, they just practiced and learned over time to perfect it. But secondly, I think in most cases, when we see a really elite presenter, they've had technical training in verified tactics. So let's consider this. According to the stats, 77% of these people that you see on the screen, let me just get myself out of the way of that illustrious person. Oh, Obama. I mustn't block Obama. So consider this. If we look at this screen, 77% of these people who are now household names probably dealt with some form of stage fright and public speaking anxiety. And none of them are trained performers. Steve Jobs didn't go to theatre school as far as I know. Jordan Peterson is a psychologist. Chris Do is a graphic designer. Marie Forleo was on the stock exchange, became a life coach and amplified her public image through her YouTube channel and public speaking engagements. So all of these individuals are not trained performers, and yet they appear so on stage because when we see them speak, they appear seamless, memorable, they make it look so easy, they're charismatic on stage. So if we consider the stats, that would mean that 77%, more than half of the famous personalities you see on the screen, suffered from or still suffer from with management stage anxiety, but they've found a system to overcome it. So let's look at how that process might work for you. All our videos are created by real humans without Gen AI, using research-backed insights to help you shine at work. Here is the podium. Yep, that's right. We have a mock-up of the stage. When it comes to public speaking anxiety, while I work with my elite communicators at Cadenza to help them manage it so that they can start saying yes to all the invitations to speak in public or before the media or get on television, we first need to address two things. So let's take a look at the first element of public speaking anxiety management. We need to address sensory and body reactions. So that's element number one. We also need to address a second element, and that is the thought-based reactions. So that's element two. We have researched that it is incredibly helpful to divide and categorize your public speaking anxiety behaviors into these two segments: sensory and body reactions and thought-based reactions. From these two clusters of symptoms that come with stage-based anxiety, we have variable approaches and mechanisms to solve it. So let's take a look at some of the errors that can arise with speaking composure when you're experiencing a sensory reaction. So here we have factors like inability to calibrate the voice. So this is a sensory body reaction. At Cadenza, I love solving this. I'm an opera singer. I've been a voice therapist for extended periods of time. I'm also a qualified certified practicing speech pathologist. So I apply very bespoke, science-backed physiological strategies to help you calibrate your voice when the trigger of the stage anxiety is sabotaging your tone. It might be creating, for example, croaky sound. It may also impact with breath factors. So anything where you're losing breath or panting or puffing or not being able to sustain your sentence pressure due to breath complications relates to voice calibration issues. We have many different body reactions that occur, often behaviors like the urge to urinate, so things to do with how your overall homeostasis is going for you, BPM, so blood pressure increases typically, heart rate tends to increase. Some of my clients get incredibly tired and they start yawning excessively before getting on stage. There are so many variables there. So you really want a curated, bespoke solution to that. Thought-based reactions need a different approach. This is where we get those notions of limiting beliefs, for which manifestations don't work, but we do have various protocols that we can apply. So limiting beliefs, maybe that flashing thought of memory-based issues. For example, a lot of speakers would experience a lot of stress at the thought of knowing and recalling that their past presentation went really poorly, and thus hypothesizing that all future presentations are a liability. There are a lot of different thought-based reactions. We don't have a lot of time to cover that now, but I would love to meet with you one-on-one and map out exactly what your public speaking anxiety profile is currently and integrate my protocol to assist you with that based on performing theory. We use various tools and resources at Cadenza that elite musicians use to get on stage as soloists and deliver beautiful performances that the audience loves with low risk of error. Similar methods are also research-backed for elite athletes like tennis players and sprinters, where you just have that critical need to be perfect in the heat of the moment to deliver what you need. Communication isn't about being perfect. We need to be authentic and organic, but if we're not composed and calibrated, we cannot be eloquent. Because when we communicate, one must never forget, we use our body to speak. Our brain is part of our body. Let me just get that correct on the screen. So our brain is part of our body, and that's why we get those thought-based reactions, but we also have these sensory reactions that are paramount and critical that will completely sabotage our ability to potentially get the goals that we need happening for our industry leadership, public presence, and so forth. So never forget, you use your body to speak. That's why you're feeling things when it comes to public speaking anxiety. Let's check the solution. So here on the Public Speaking Odyssey map, we acknowledge that elite performance is a time-based journey with many challenges, quests, obstacles that you will need to achieve with strength of character, commitment, and sacrifice. One of the growth development areas that we would target relates to self-regulation. So self-regulation appears, in my experience, to be one of the most effective ways to help you with your performance anxiety on stage. I would train you in how to gain cadence when nervous so that you can pace your speech and voice calibration with a sense of flow coupled by emotional regulation using approaches that are verified for stage and in front of an audience. I draw on my opera training in this area and have a lot of really fascinating, not only interesting, but very practical, powerful strategies that work that can certainly make you feel regulated, calibrated, ready to deliver with eloquence when nervous. I want to share with you a very brief video with Bill Nighy. I think he very much articulates the pressure of mind and thoughts as they relate to performance anxiety.
The pinch me moment, I remember I opened a play in New York and I'd been so alarmed and scared for months because I agreed to do the job, and I used to wake up every morning thinking, why did I do this? I'm going to open a play on Broadway, and it was just like such a, and then the previews were surreal, and then the opening night was like me looking into my colleagues' eyes and just reading their minds, and they were looking at me thinking, well, he's the senior member of the company. How come he's falling apart every time he speaks?
Bill does a brilliant job of executing through his words how challenging it is to have these racing, limiting thoughts, and also suggests how much these thoughts impact on his own cadence. Let's check our next scenario. My next example of charismatic delivery comes from the Korean vegan Joanne Molinaro. Let's take a look at her delivery style in this quick scenario.
These little oval discs of rice cake, they represent a lot of things. Number one, they represent blessings to come in the new year. Rice, as you probably know, for Asian culture, it means sustenance, it means survival, and in this case, it means blessings. The other reason we use these white rice cakes is because it represents the purity of the new year. We have been blessed with a new year that's completely pure of any mistakes in it yet.
What a wonderful example of someone activating charisma and even expanding out of their original industry of being a defense attorney and becoming a gastronomical expert in the public space. Joanne Molinaro commenced her professional life as a lawyer, but managed to re-articulate her vision and visibility, transforming herself into a Korean food expert with the publishing of her noteworthy blog, social media content, and cookbooks. So in that sample, I think we get a really nice example of how a calibrated communicator can have this memorable delivery that looks very composed with good cadence. I observe all the elements of the Cadenza protocol in forming really catchy, engaging, storytelling-based delivery that's highly charismatic. She has great cadence, good voice tone, able to structure a story using a captivating story framework with lots of analogy and metaphor. It's very much a rapport building style. Whether this is your style of content that you watch or not, we can't dispute the fact that it has a really good rhetorical structure that makes you want to listen and understand what is it about rice cakes that's so profound. Okay, let's check our next example. This example is an interview with the noteworthy, eloquent Morgan Freeman. Let's hear what he has to say about diction and cadence.
Where did you learn to speak so beautifully?
I went to school to study how to be an actor. And in that school, Los Angeles City College, I had a voice and diction instructor who was very good at his job. And so you had to learn to speak and sound your final consonants.
Morgan Freeman made reference to the importance of cadence. I think we can also take into account voice tone. When you learn to complete the final consonants at a word level, your tone is signaled with a great degree of eloquence and composure. These are areas in the Cadenza protocol that we train you in so that you get eloquent flow when presenting on stage or in the boardroom. My next example is for you if you're a CFO or someone in the finance, very much white-collar corporate sector, dealing with boardroom conversations and high stakes with finances and ventures. Here we have Jamie Dimon. Let's take a look.
You've always talked about how there's been extraordinary complacency, that markets are not pricing in the risks. With what we saw in yields overnight, is that a reflection of risks being priced in?
Yeah, so when I talk about that kind of complacency, I'm talking about the asset price in the United States, and it's a long list of things. It's QE, it's fiscal deficits, it's global fiscal deficits, it's potential of the trade wars, it's these huge complex geopolitical situation, and I look at all of those probably not being properly priced into the marketplace. But we don't know what's going to happen, so I don't worry about one day move in bond markets. So.
A very good example of a communicator knowing their topic, but not only that, you can know your topic but not calibrate your answer with a sense of flow and preparedness. If you're struggling to battle through the pressure of synchronizing your mind and thoughts, we see that in Jamie Dimon. There's no delay with his response. He knows his topic, but he's also calibrated to retrieve the thoughts when under pressure with the responses he delivers to unexpected questions. Because of the presence of Clarity of thought linking to clarity of message. We get a sense of cadence and flow. He's swift with his answer. There are very minimal hesitations. Due to that comfort at accessing his message, his voice tone is aligned, probably supported by a very good logical structure where he knows his key points that he can outline for that spontaneous question, resulting in him answering the question with confident delivery and a certain degree of, I would actually call that authority. He's not, in this instance, demonstrating massive charisma. We see authoritative, credible responses to unexpected questions. Really well-formed media engagement delivered in that nutshell. I have so many examples I want to show you. In fact, I had another 5 videos up my sleeve, but I am mindful that this is turning into a very hefty, long episode. So here's what I would encourage you to do. You might like to take a moment at the end of this episode, or maybe even tomorrow morning, to identify some communicators who are global figures in your industry or close to it. So if you're working as a designer, find a famous architect. Listen to how they present their message in video-based content. If you're working in the financial markets, find some Wall Street players that you admire and emulate and look at how they're dealing with factors across the Cadenza protocol. Find individuals that you want to emulate. When it comes to self-regulation training, according to your public speaking odyssey, we want to work through a variety of elements and dimensions in the Cadenza protocol. So communication is multidimensional, and we refer to 7 dimensions supported by validated research with practical tools and training in Cadenza sessions for executives. Self-regulation tends to have a lot of impacts in the zones of mind and thoughts, speech cadence, so speakers lose flow when they're feeling anxious, as well as voice tone factors where the voice doesn't sound confident because of the bodily reaction and even the impact of intrusive thoughts. So the mind and thought reactions that come with performance anxiety tend to spill into voice and tone. And if a speaker is delivering a message before the media or in a public speaking engagement where they're not memorized or teleprompted and they need to speak spontaneously, which is very common, as you saw in some of those examples, it's quite common for structure to be impacted as well. All of these elements affect charisma because when our speech doesn't have that calibration, our listener doesn't find the signal as attractive or engaging. We also get impacts on the ability to attend to the audience. So the ability to form rapport gets sacrificed at just that coping need. So when you're under high pressure, it's very hard to think, who is my audience? How can I make my words incredibly bespoke to them? We lose word choice, we struggle to find the words, and it's really easy to forget about that interpersonal connection that needs to be created if you're just trying to breathe and survive. Delivery obviously also relates to elements around how you're deporting your body. So deportment is a critical factor. What's your posture like? What's your eye gaze like? How are you moving your gestures, and how are you appearing visually with your delivery and sounding as a composite whole, obviously informed by many other factors on the screen with the dimensions, but delivery is that composite look. Like, how did you deliver? Did you look confident and charismatic, or did you deliver with nervous hesitation? The body reflects that, the voice reflects that, the message reflects that. So we want that total package. And then tactical charisma is a set of verified signals that we use in performing, which are applicable definitely to actors and stage performers in the theatre or on screen, opera singers as well. But that can be also streamlined for executive presence and industry leadership. According to your industry, we will apply certain signals that would suit you. According to your temperament and personality, we need to consider that too. So it's vital when you learn charisma that you take a personalized, bespoke approach. It's not just one size fits all, because you have a unique set of goals and objectives you need for the public marketplace. It's definitely time for a bit of coffee. I hope you're enjoying this workshop so far. I never drink coffee in client appointments, but when I do this kind of content, I do need a beverage or two. I also have my water with a glass straw. In case I need to do some voice exercises, I'll certainly show you how to get your voice ready for camera, especially if you're doing something that's a long form delivery where you need that clarity of tone that you're still hearing. I've warmed up my voice to get ready for the screen. I warm it up to get ready for the stage as a singer, but also as a speaker. And I certainly warm it up to consult with my clients as well, so that I have this quality tone coming through no matter how many people I'm speaking to or dealing with in a given day. It's always a delight, but it can be vocally taxing without knowing how to get the voice in position. I don't want to bail you up for a very long episode. I mean, this one is a long one. I did have a lot I wanted to share with you, but let's just quickly go through. We've covered a lot of this in our examples, but let's just map out that public speaking odyssey map. It aligns with the Cadenza protocol, but it's a nice way to just look at the 5 oars you need to sail that boat across the stormy Mediterranean or wherever it might be. So we also will look at language tactics. Our public speaking approach for our programs definitely will give you the skills to use language logic in those moments where you really need it, so that you have more creative, expressive devices. We call this rhetoric. If you are interested in rhetoric, you should check out this video. I've linked it up on the top of the screen about the Canons of Rhetoric, how the ancient Romans spoke. I think you'll find it fascinating. It is an age-old systematic approach to oratory skills and public presentations that all the emperors used and world leaders are aware of. I will train you in that, also according to current best practice and up-and-coming research in the field about rhetoric, so that you can express your ideas in a captivating and visionary manner. We also do, obviously, a lot of voice work. We wouldn't be Cadenza if we didn't sort out your voice proactively and agilely to get a clear, lifelong outcome. So I will train you to calibrate your voice muscles so that you can cope with performance pressure, so that you have charismatic enunciation. The voice is a conduit of energy and magnetism on the stage, so that is a critical area we cannot leave unattended. We will also look into social intelligence. I'm sure you're socially intelligent as a conscientious person, but when we get on stage, we have to find a way to trigger rapport and buy-in and a cadence with the crowd. So we've got the cadence of our speech, but we need a cadence with the values and the attitudes that we showcase to build that memorability. That's what sets apart speakers like Brené Brown or Tony Robbins. They have this. Jordan Peterson is another great example. They've got this ability to calibrate with their crowd, and that's based on social intelligence, a very sharp understanding of who your audience is, but also not only that, how to directly articulate to them so that they feel heard. So you'll gain tactical insight if you work with me in pitching your message with the right tone and focus that wins audience appeal and gets the crowd to take action. Lastly, one of my favorite areas as a raging performer, a lot of people think that I love the limelight. I do, but there's something that a lot of people don't know until they work with me. There is nothing I love more than assisting my clients who are really clever and competent and savvy to get the skills they need to perform, to showcase that. And that for me is such an interesting area to give you more flexibility with. We use theatrics, which relates to stage presence, concrete, stage-based, camera-based training to give you skills that you may never have explored. If you're a chief financial officer or a CEO, or maybe you're an executive chef or an elite lawyer working with high-value assets in territories that are very much analytical and complex, you may never have had a chance or even the time to cover theatre principles and strategies that make people look radiant and captivating and engaged and passionate on stage. And you need that because that will match your expertise. So when you've got advanced expertise, if you just have that beacon to signal light in stormy seas through charisma, the ships will survive. You will make what you need and gain a lot of ascension rapidly. So I'll train you in theatre tactics that increase your visibility and magnetism. Now, over on our website, we have a lot of resources and tools. Now's a great time to tell you should check out our expert guides on charismatic executive presentations. I'm also going to link a lot of other material and resources for you below, because I'm sure if you got to this point in today's episode, you are clearly loving this topic and you're seeking tools and strategies. Maybe you have a benchmark event, book launch, or media appearance coming up, and today's training has made you ponder, what is the best way to start your public speaking odyssey to secure that charisma you're after? If you're still tormenting yourself with racing thoughts, public speaking stress, or worries about needing to go to the bathroom once more before you get on stage because of nerves, or how to compose your delivery and appear poised, eloquent, and engaging on camera or on stage, listen carefully, because I want to share the best way for you to get there, the validated way. Charismatic delivery is both memorable and trust-building. Thus, it adds high value to your presentations, not to mention your career path, your public presence, and so forth. After working with hundreds of top-tier industry leaders to garner charismatic delivery through personalized services at Cadenza, I've had the chance to provide systematic tools that solve speaker stress across such a vast range of industries and professions. Speaking problems vary across my clients. For example, here is one client scenario that I encountered and we worked through to achieve the aspirational goal. So this particular client was a senior public service official. They reported when they first met me that their biggest challenges were a lack of clarity in speech, and they were also worried that their voice tone was too loud, so loud that it didn't connect with people. It sounded aggressive and angry. Great, the voice projects, but if it's too much, it is too much. And their aspirational goal, which we built together to gain an outcome, was that they really wanted to be able to present confidently in an engaging way in front of a big audience so that they could provide training in their public service role where people would effectively understand what they were saying. They wanted to be an effective speaker in ad hoc conversations professionally, but also with their family and friends in the social sector. So we built a program, a bespoke set of sessions for them. They did my platinum program. We achieved such a great outcome and we eclipsed that aspirational goal. Here's another client, a senior designer who is working in a firm. I'll keep it discreet and confidential. I don't want to divulge any names and too much info. But when I first met them, her biggest challenge was projection of tone, managing their nerves, and engaging in pitches in particular, with the aspirational goal of confident speaking, presenting, and pitching projects at work. We achieved great results and solved that headache. Another client I have worked with over the past year is a hospital executive who obviously deals in very high-level stakeholder meetings. They come from a medical background, so medical professional, having worked as a doctor at a specialist level, but started to step into some very public-facing, national-level public health engagements. And when I first met them, they reported concerns about a quieter speaking voice. They felt that they used soft phrasing. I definitely established that through our audit of their speaking, such that their speech came across as tentative, nervous, and more listener-based when they were interacting, which meant they were more subject to being interrupted constantly in high-paced meetings. They also reported that they had a really fast pace of speech. We established that also through the high-performance communication audit. This speaker spoke quiet, light, with hesitance, and too rapidly, which made it hard for their stakeholders to pick up the key details. And in media appearances, which they had to do, it just meant that the grabs weren't coming across effectively for the media, so they were less likely to be quoted and given that airtime. So from the audit, we definitely established that we needed to build up infrastructure for speech cadence, voice tone, delivery, logic structure to segment info in nice bite-worthy chunks to get that visible presence that the media is seeking from them, and also that boardroom presence so that the message is packaged with a lot of logic and precision to suit the conversations needed. And the goal for this client in essence was so that their thoughts and ideas would land without interruption and ultimately to build presence and gravitas as denotes their rank and national leadership. So we got some great results in this instance, and this was a really wonderful brief that I loved delivering. Another example is a real estate lawyer who was struggling a lot with mumbling, voice tone, fluency, and elocution, and they really wanted to build skills in these challenge areas so that they could get outcomes with their clarity of speech, their fluency, their voice in their career path. We did a great job there. We did a lot of work actually on preparing this particular person for leadership ascension in the event that they might want to showcase their leadership skills more effectively through their communication in their current role, hopefully to be ticketed as an option for promotional opportunities that might happen internally, but also looked at strategies if they were to apply for interviews for other roles outside of their organization. During their program, they hit pause for a moment because they did actually get a better position with a larger firm, and I consider that a brief achieved before we even completed their program. We then worked on some showcasing devices for the new role. So I think now it is certainly a pertinent moment to consider, let's talk about you. What is it that we can do to build your communication? So now is a wonderful moment to consider, what is your current big challenge? You might pick up some note paper, grab a pen, or better still, open your inbox and write me an email, hello@cadenza.co. Tell me what your biggest challenge is. Your unique presenting opportunities and speaking challenges are vastly different from everyone around you, and I'm very curious to know what they are because I am certain our protocol can solve that. And then also add, what are your aspirational goals? The outcomes you're aiming for are also unique and bespoke to you. Tell me about them. You can head to cadenza.co contact or just send me an email, hello@cadenza.co. I'd be delighted to learn what you're aspiring to achieve, and we can talk about the best way to map that out for you. So each of my clients, some of these client scenarios that you've heard from real clients I've worked with, like you, have unique skills, expertise, speaking styles, and goals that they wanted to achieve. It really is the personalized nature of stage pressure that calls for personalized solutions. It's also the very personal nature of being a global industry leader or public figure at a state or national level that calls for personalized solutions. You don't need to sound like everyone else, so you shouldn't enroll in the same program that everyone else is doing. We need to bespoke this. So today, I would like to suggest that we can build together the exact infrastructure you need to trigger the science-backed charisma signals that make your presentations buzz. See, what I don't want you to do is get stuck on an ineffective solution for public speaking as an executive. The traditional way that you might default to is a time vampire. You're too busy for that. We need to get a fast, effective outcome so that you can snowball your impact rapidly. So let's first consider the traditional way that a lot of people think they need to go for, and that would be a group public speaking program. Absolutely not appropriate for you if you're an executive or public figure or aiming to be. When it comes to group-based public speaking programs, take a look at this. They tend to be notoriously not discreet. You're in a group with a whole lot of people. If you're in a tight industry, you don't need everyone to know that you're working on your communication. That's something that should look like the duck skimming across the pond nice and smoothly. We don't need to see the feet moving. That will suck your reputation. So discreet training is what I would recommend for you. Group public speaking programs are notoriously unconfidential. They're certainly not tailored to your personal goals. They're very much tailored to the group-based method. And when it comes to voice tone needs, it's a really ineffective way to address your unique voice tone needs. There is absolutely no way to train your voice in a choir-based setting. We need to work one-on-one to calibrate what it is that your unique muscle setup requires so that you can achieve rapid calibration. And so that you can get a very clear cue from the instructor. You need to hear ideal tone so that you can mirror and simulate it with feedback and strategy and training. We can do that online if you're based outside of Melbourne, and we can also do it in person. Both are just as effective. Now let's consider another variant that a lot of people will consider. It's easy to think that because you're time poor, it's hard to kind of attain appointments and sessions that can fit your busy schedule. At Cadenza, I'm incredibly agile because all of my clients are high-powered. They're traveling a lot. They're dealing with a lot of appointments and boardroom meetings or going on TV here and there, and it's full on with their schedule. So I provide a very elastic approach to your sessions where online self-paced public speaking programs might feel like they'll fit with your schedule, but actually they just end up sitting there in your digital hard drive, not getting looked at. You need a little more accountability. I would recommend avoiding this approach because A, it's time heavy. It's definitely not tailored. It's certainly designed to fit the general mass. Communication training, it's certainly not commensurate with your expertise and experience trying to aspire to build that public industry profile. It's very challenging to get legitimate feedback in a self-paced course. Even if they say you're going to get it, I can vouch. It's pretty challenging. If you're an executive, you need to hit the ground running and do it fast. It's also vocally risky. You can learn to use your voice effectively, but the muscle is very small and exposed to the risk of injury. So doing it without one-on-one instruction is risky. So unlike the group-based training and the online self-based training, Cadenza services are an engaging, stimulating, and first-class experience for your communication. We provide a top-tier service for your top-tier career, and we're committed to advocating for your time. The solution is effective as well as your communication comfort. Our process is supported by the Cadenza protocol. And at Cadenza, I'm dedicated to building communication skills that you're proud of so that you can make the most of your time on earth by accomplishing more interpersonal depth and self-assurance when interacting professionally and personally. It would be my honor to work with you. So if you're looking for public speaking solutions that work for your stage presence, charisma, and industry leadership, let's speak. A Cadenza program is discreet and confidential, personalized and bespoke to your goals. You will receive feedback from me all sessions. A lot of people ask, who does the sessions? Will I get to work with you, Dr. Sarah? You absolutely will work with me one-on-one. Every session is delivered, crafted, and designed by me for you in a personalized manner. And you will also receive that wonderful experience of human connection with someone who genuinely cares about your industry leadership, visibility, and ascension. So we should really ask today, what if? What would happen if you finally dedicated time to your speaking skills on stage? What if? What would happen if you started to say yes to those speaking opportunities? What if? What if you started enjoying your time on stage and with the media? Your profile, visibility, and memorability will compound. More doors will open. You may even become a household name if you're not already. So probably you're curious, what should I do to make this happen? Well, today there are two options. You can figure it out alone, or you can fast track an immediate solution with my help. At Cadenza, I work with competent and conscientious executives and professionals to express their insights eloquently so that they can approach their goals faster. Here's just a small amount of what you will learn if you enroll in a program with me. How to prepare your thoughts faster to control timing pressures when speaking. The secret to a smooth start every time you speak so that you expel the frog in your throat, stop using fillers, and have more gravitas in stressful impromptu discussions. How to reduce mumbling and speech speed issues. I'll show you what to do to speak with speech speed drills that balance your pace so that you communicate in fine form under pressure so that you're fully calibrated. You'll also learn how to reduce fillers like like, the thing is, so that you can sound more eloquent. I'll show you how to enhance logical flow with a solid content structure to find equilibrium when speaking on the fly or under pressure. We'll cover how to tell captivating stories in professional settings that amplify your industry leadership and expertise, as well as influence using my research-based system. I'll show you how to skyrocket positive emotions, trust, and curiosity with science-backed language tactics to exert more influence and interest from your colleagues, audience, clients, or stakeholders. I'll show you how to optimize your voice tone so that you get a consistently confident sound no matter who you are speaking with or how you feel. I'll give you my speaking warm-up. I'll train you to use it so that you can calibrate your voice muscle ready for stage and camera. And we'll also look at reducing monotony and create excitement by increasing your voice intonation if needed. I'll show you the 24 voice emotions so that you can tap into an extensive palette of vocal color to give your conversations a high resolution experience so you can step on stage like the true performer you need to be on stage. We'll also look at the art of rehearsal and how to prime and perfect high pressure speaking tasks that you wake up in a cold sweat about the night before so that when you step on stage, you're passionate, calibrated, and importantly, confident. We will raise your charisma quotient, a measurable index, and increase your magnetism and connection with your conversation partners in daily interactions, as well as those speaking performance activities. We'll cover professional performance anxiety management strategies for you to apply in any high-pressure scenario where the pressure is on. I'll also train you to use gesture, posture, eye contact, and facial expression to boost credibility and influence. There is so much I want to show you. In fact, I'm obsessed with boosting your communication confidence. I've researched corporate communication tactics for over a decade. I'm also a performer as an opera singer. I'm driven to create a resolute fix for your executive communication presence. In the next few weeks, we can build this out through personalized one-to-one sessions available worldwide, one-on-one, bespoke to you, so that you can get your boots on the ground on stage, in the boardroom, on camera, before the media, and under pressure, all in a discreet and confidential approach that supports your public reputation. If you're an industry leader, don't do this in a group setting. Let's work together so that we can handle your unique value offer with care and confidentiality. Remember, I work worldwide, although based in Melbourne, Australia, and it all begins with a conversation to define the right approach, solution, and recommendations for you. I've left a link to all the details on my website below. It starts with a Cadenza curiosity call, so be sure to check it out. If you're keen to start something right away with me, you might also like to check out one of our speaking audits. And if you're keen to start something right away with me, maybe it's late in the evening and you're like, I just want to work with Sarah, let's go. I would be delighted. You may, at this point in time, like to enroll immediately in one of our speaking audits. You will get started within 5 minutes of enrollment. I've linked the details below, and that would be the way to just hit the ground running. We will do an audit of your communication according to the Cadenza protocol, ready to start the bespoke program that would suit your needs. This involves a strategy recommendation session once you submit some audio, video, and screener-based tasks so that I have a true picture of your industry leadership goals, presenting needs, and so forth. I've linked all the details on that one below. But if you're not quite sure how this works and where it sits, don't hesitate to book a Cadenza call with me in the first place. That's available to everyone worldwide. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to click like, and maybe even subscribe to the channel. I hope that you've found the topic helpful. Do you have any questions? If so, use the comments section below. I read every comment and can't wait to hear from you. Also, I should mention you can find the scientific references for all our tools and articles and content listed over on our website under blog post articles. We don't provide opinion-based training. It's all supported by verified research. Thanks so much for watching. It's been great to have you here. Ciao for now, and I'll see you in our next episode, if not in a call soon.